if you could go to a car wash that was themed after your favorite baseball player, which player would that be?
Oh, it would not be Jose Canseco.
So, Mark, I'm really sad to hear that the Go Sexy boutique at Flamingo closed in 2018. You were telling me about it. You told a great story on this week's MtM Vegas podcast, so people will have to download it in order to hear your experience there. But I once I saw the pictures of it and the legs open, I remembered a little bit, but I've never had the pleasure of stepping foot inside there. But
Yeah, if you needed batteries, that was the place. That was the place to go
I
at the
mean, who
Flamingo.
knew such a place existed inside a casino? It's crazy. You know, you just don't expect to see a shop like that inside a major casino. But Flamingo was keeping it classy there for a while.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. And then you're walking down that hallway, and they have like higher end shops, and then of course the trinket Flamingo themed gift shop, and then you look down at that, and you're like, oh, what's the leg? It did draw you in. I'll give them that. Like it was perfectly placed and kind of funny, but sad to see it go for sure. I didn't realize it until we had talked about it that it was no longer at the Flamingo.
Yeah, so check out our MTM Vegas podcast. You can find it at mtmvegas.com or by just searching MTM Vegas in your favorite podcast app. If you're on Apple Podcasts, we'd love to get a 5-star review and a written review from you if you can do that. But Mark tells a great story about meeting some random strangers, doing an act of kindness, and then being rewarded by a trip to that store in the Flamingo for some batteries. So you definitely want to check that out.
Yeah,
And
it gets a little weird. It gets a little weird as it does in Vegas, right?
absolutely, that's every good Vegas story has to be a little bit strange like that. But let's talk about the big news of the day. This just broke as we're recording it. Caesar's Palace finally released some details of their multi-million-dollar renovation to their entryway. They sort of hinted at this, I don't know, what, a month or two ago, said that they're going to do it, but now we got some kind of concrete details. We got one piece of concept art. Basically, they're going to move the main valet. So right now, the main valet is off of Las Vegas Boulevard, right at the front entry. They're going to convert that so that it's only Diamond and 7 stars can do the valet. So it'll be a much smaller valet. And then you'll be forced to do the valet back in the parking garage, which is way at the back of the property. So if you're staying in the hotels, it's kind of a huge walk now to get from valet to the front entrance. Rideshare pickups moving, a few other things. The entry doesn't look all that different, does it, than it does right now in the concept art, at least.
No, I don't really notice anything different. I don't see what the purpose of this is. Besides, I guess they're trying to like inflate the Diamond and 7-star status. Like, hey, I know we took away a lot. Here's a little bit of something. We're gonna make it harder for all the other plebes to get to valet and then get to the casino. But you'll still get up front. So I don't know if that's what they're going for, but it would be annoying, paying for valet, tipping, and all that, and you still have like a Disney World type of walk from the parking lot.
Now, they do say they're rebuilding the entry from the ground up. So, despite the fact that it might look similar, they are going to be doing some major renovations here. My guess is they're cutting down the valet in order to expand the building out a little bit into the entryway. They said that there's going to be a 15-foot tall Caesar welcoming guests. It does look like similar to the Caesar statue now, like he's pointing, but he's not 15 feet tall now. So hopefully.
So if he's 15 feet tall, how big is his member going to be?
What?
Because the statues. Well, there is one in Caesars that does not have clothes on, right? If I remember correct.
But I do think the area where he is, the ceilings are quite low, and it does look like they're a little higher. It looks like they're moving the table games that are around that area closer to this. So basically, it seems like they're renovating the full pit area and all the table games in that area. And I know you've talked a lot before about how that area feels a little dated, and it's a very classic pit for Vegas. A lot of people like it, but there's definitely low ceilings. So maybe they're going to be able to change a few things here. But overall, it doesn't look so much different than it does now. Maybe just higher ceilings, a little bit more function for the table games, and then a new sort of grand visual as you walk in. But that's it. I mean, nothing else. I mean, the lobby's still going to be the same. The rest of the casino the same. The hotel's still the same. So
yeah, you would think that they would add some lobby check-in counter space with how busy and how long the lines get there, or even, I've talked about in the past the pedestrian entryway where they have that big white bar that is kind of useless and nobody uses. They could repurpose that space for something cool or redevelop it somehow. We've talked off air about how they added Hell's Kitchen to that area, and they have the tent for shows and everything, but I feel like that's still kind of like an underserved, underused space that could be something better or something that draws you in, kind of like at Harrah's, the Carnival Court type of thing. I don't know what it would be, but it just seems like kind of a dead area that everybody walks by and nobody ever is sitting at that bar.
Well, I miss the old days where you had the moving walkways that would suck you in. Caesars used to have one on either side, and those one way. The only place I think that still has it is Excalibur. Still has the moving walkway.
Doesn't Bally's still have it? Like when you get past the shops up the stairs, isn't there one that's
I don't think it's a moving walk. I think they took the moving walkway out. If I remember
okay.
right, it's just
Okay.
there's just a walkway, and then that's all the way in the back. So that doesn't take you from because in the old days it would take, and the Bally's one did too. It would take you from right from the strip up and in, and now that's gone. Excalibur still does that.
Added all those stores and everything. So, but yeah, that was nice. They should just have moving walkways the whole strip.
Well, Caesars used to have a moving walkway right
Get
at
rid
that
of
corner.
scooters. Get rid of them.
Where all that stuff is that you're talking about, they used to have a moving walkway bringing you in, and then one on the other side where Forum Shops is way back in the day. So I do miss that, and I feel like that whole entry area where you're talking about Hell's Kitchen, it's a very sort of busy area. There's a lot of people walking through there. There is that one bar in the middle that's hardly ever used, but it doesn't seem like they're going to do a lot of changes there. Seems like the fountains are going to stick around, which I know is the most important thing to historic or history lovers like me. So yeah, we'll keep you guys updated. But as of now, all we have is this one piece of concept art, and we'll see. It's going to be a mess, I'm sure, for valet for arriving at the hotel. And I think the biggest loss here is for hotel guests. Now, not if you're not Diamond or 7 stars, you really don't have the option of arriving right there. Have your car, have it valeted.
We should mention, we talk about in the podcast, we talk about how to get status for cheap or free without gambling in this week's podcast. So if you do valet a lot and this is a big hit to you, we share some ways that you can get diamond status for fairly cheap without having to gamble. So something to check out for sure.
Speaking of hotness in Vegas, Resorts World, we wanted to catch up on a few different things. First off, we talked about that $150 bonus. As expected, that didn't last. It lasted about a week, though. I didn't expect it to actually hold on that long, but it's been replaced by a $10 bonus.
Woo! $10 bonus. Big time. It's like you're going to Ellis Island or something.
Yeah, big deal. But thankfully we got ours. So my family got $300. Thanks, Resorts World. Yours got $150. Hopefully everybody out there with our last show got a chance, if you were able to be in Vegas, to go check that out. Sorry to Viva Las Value, who tried to go do it and missed it just by, I don't know, a day or so. And he let us know that the bonus is now gone. There's been some other interesting discussions. Did you know a lot about the process of rebating high rollers in Wales, about negotiating a rebate ahead of time? Explain how that works.
Yeah, so what they'll do for big players or to get players in is they'll give you a stop gap on your losses or a rebate. So if you go in and you gamble and you lose $100,000, a lot of times people will work out a deal where they'll get 10%, 20%, 25% of that back. So you lose 100,000, they'll give you 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, something along those lines. They track it throughout a gaming session. Usually there will be like a minimum amount that you have to gamble, or maybe even a minimum amount of time. So you can't just go make like $100,000 bet and lose, and then they'll give you, $20,000 back. So they do want you to stay. They want you to play. So it's a way to bring in high rollers, steal them from other properties. People have taken advantage of it. There was a gambler in Atlantic City that worked out this deal with multiple casinos and hit him up for like $10 million 7-8 years ago. So they call it advantage playing, when you have the advantage, because house edge on a game like blackjack is a few percent, and that's extrapolated over millions of hands. So if you can get people to do this for you and you do it over a long period of time, you're going to come out a winner, because more than likely your variance will level out and you'll be getting rebates on your losses, and you'll win as well, which you don't get any rebates when you win. But your house advantage is gone, and it actually swings in your favor. So it's an interesting thing. Not a lot of places do it unless you're super high roller, and you have to kind of negotiate that up front.
Yeah, and usually the number that they'll get is like 10%. something like that. And to your point, different casinos have different policies, but a lot of time the policy doesn't vary by game. So depending on the game that you're playing and the advantage that you have, that's what that player was able to do. Now with a 10% rebate, it's probably a little bit harder to figure this all out, but there's rumors that Resorts World's offering up to 25% to high rollers right now to come and play, and that puts the math in a very strange place by all accounts, and that's what's apparently happening. So they really are going all in for those whales.
Yeah, and I could see this being like a tactic to get them in the door and get them to try it out and kind of, bring them into the area, get them in the rewards program, and get them rolling with offers. I don't see it lasting long term because, you're not going to come out ahead. This is very advantage to the player, so the house is going to lose over the long term. So you can still lose as a player because variance, you could hit the bad end of variance and lose in a couple trips, and if they pull it before you swing to the good side, that's going to cost you. But I could see them doing this like the $150 bonus, where it's a quick rollout, doesn't last super long, just to get the big players in.
Yeah, interesting thing, and I've certainly never heard of 25%. That's pretty unheard of in this industry.
I've got. What's crazy is the sports books here, the online ones like DraftKings VIP, they'll roll it out like once a month, where they'll give you for 2 or 3 days, they'll give VIP players 25% back in losses on their casino. It's not the same as being in a casino because it's video, which has its plus and minuses. Plus is you don't have an idiot hitting a 14 against a 6. Minus is that each shuffle is a new deck, so it's a brand new deck, so you don't get the kind of heaters that you would get at a normal table type of thing. But it's kind of crazy that they offer it. So these are the type of things that online gaming has to do to pull you away from the casino.
Yeah, and it's a whole new world. We've talked about the sports betting apps, and the old world of the gaming culture is just different. And now with the apps and all these marketing budgets, you're going to see these types of promotions like the one at Resorts World. I've never heard of a casino just flat out giving regular gamblers money, certainly not with any playthrough requirement. But they tried it. Obviously, they ran through their budget in a week, and something similar will happen on the high end here as well. They'll figure it all out, but they'll probably lose some money in the meantime, I'm guessing. And some other problems that they've been having, we've been seeing anecdotal reports of, cocktail waitresses saying that they're not making enough money, certain people walking off their shifts, things like that. That's pretty typical at new casinos. There's just working at a casino is an endeavor. A lot of, you got to get there early, the parking, the whole structure of it, being on camera all the time. It's just not for everybody. There's drug testing involved too. So sometimes people will, the drug test takes a while to come back. So there's always turnover at new casinos. I wouldn't worry all too much about that. But there were some rumblings about cocktail waitresses not being happy, which reminded me the single rude employee I encountered at Resorts World was a cocktail waitress, which I did talk about it on the podcast, then it got cut out of the podcast. But my wife was moving from machine to machine and tried to order a Diet Coke, and the cocktail waitress stood there and made sure she put her ticket in and placed a bet on the machine before she brought her the Diet Coke, which was sort of ridiculous. I've never seen that happen in a casino, but it seems like maybe they're under a lot of pressure. I don't know.
The casinos around here have like soda machines just set up that you can go up and get your own Coke, Pepsi, whatever you want. So it's kind of crazy that they would even care if it's, if it's an alcoholic beverage, what do you care?
And she had a ticket. She was moving machines and she was legitimately gambling. So it wasn't any case where we were trying to do anything like that. And I've never had a cocktail waitress require that, but we just figured she was new or whatever. But she just seemed miserable. So maybe a lot of work there. I'm sure they were just overworked, overburdened, and you're always going to have people quit when it comes to that. So I wouldn't buy too much into there being huge problems at Resorts World because...
Well, they did show on Twitter the pay table for tip outs because they share tips for table games, and it was like $100 for a day, which seems really low for opening weekend. I mean, the first day or two was pretty big, but then it kind of slowed down into the $100 range, which you would think would be higher for how busy it is. But that goes to show that a lot of people are in Vegas, a lot of people are checking out Resorts World, but the tables were not super busy. And that's what you see all over Vegas. Tons of people, but not tons of gamblers, which is interesting.
And those same complaints we've been seeing going back through the last year, through all of COVID, about people not tipping and the culture being a little bit different, that's sort of going on as well. I see both sides of that because traditionally, of course, cocktail waitresses, dealers, those types of positions, you should always tip. But it does seem like the tipping culture has spread everywhere, and that probably means that people are tipping less overall. You know, if you got to tip your Starbucks person, you're tipping just everywhere you go in Vegas. There's probably less of that to go around. That's just my sort of thought on it. But of course, Vegas built on tips, and people work incredibly hard, and they deserve it. And tip your cocktail waitresses, tip your bartenders, your servers, your dealers.
Unless they don't want to bring you a Diet Coke, and then you don't give them nothing.
All right, so fees. Let's talk about fees. We talked about the restaurant at Paris a month or two ago who that instituted this new fee. Now we have another set of restaurants that's up to it. Arc Vegas, they run most of the restaurants at New York, including the America restaurant. And at that restaurant, they implemented this new process fee that, according to Twitter and this customer, they lied and said it was a new regulation by the government here, and they were trying to recoup their cost or whatever like that. Another BS fee. I'm just going to say it. Arc Vegas, I think they run the Gallagher Steakhouse. They run the Mexican restaurant in New York, the America restaurant, all of those vending areas in the Greenwich Village area. Boycott them. Do not spend $1 there. Do not support them at all. Do not support any of these businesses that not only create these fees, but lie to their customers and try to pass it off as some sort of governmental fee. Lord knows we have enough taxes and fees here for tourists. Shame on them, and I hope that they lose so much business. Vital Vegas also covered this, and hoping to get the word out so people avoid these places.
Yeah, just like raise the price of beer $1 or something. Like, I don't get, like, you're just gonna upset people over $2. Is it really worth it? One, and two, just raise prices, especially with all the menus are digital now. You're scanning it on your phone. Now, I could understand back in the day when you had to reprint all these paper menus, and it was a real pain. It's easier to just add a fee and fight for it. But with everybody, scanning and opening it up on the internet, you can change that with a couple clicks. Like, just do it. Just up everything 50 cents or whatever you want to be. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just cheap, and it's so Vegas right now, which is sad.
Yeah, it's just a manager decided, oh, let's up our revenue. And no doubt that there are cost recoveries and things are more expensive now, but just out and out charging fees is not the way to do it. And this is a little bit different than resort fees because I feel like resort fees there's only so many hotels, right? There's just a small number of hotels. In Vegas, there's thousands of restaurants. So we have a lot more ability to fight this stuff, to not support the handful of restaurants that decide they want to charge credit card fees or process fees or other garbage fees. And then for the manager to go on top and lie about it. Of course, that's anecdotal, but that's not good either. So don't support these people. Hopefully they'll back off. And, I'm all for supporting everybody and trying to make all business good. But I'd rather go to a restaurant that's not going to charge me the $2 fee. And to your point, if they want to put it into the price of their items, then they can do that. But my guess is that they're putting it into the price of their items plus they're charging the fee. And that's really where that comes in.
The funny thing is when I'm dining out and stuff, I usually give them the card before they even give me the receipt. So I never actually look at it. I kind of know what it's going to be. And when it comes back, if it's, about that range, I don't check it that closely. But in Vegas, that's the one place that you really have to check every receipt because you don't know what they're going to slap on it.
It's so true. It's so true. Like, you have to check everything. You check out of a hotel, you got to make sure. It's very, very, rare that your bill is exactly the way it's supposed to be. At the restaurants now, they're slipping on all kinds of charges. Yeah, that's what Vegas is about. But you have to be proactive as a consumer and just start looking for this stuff and then fighting back and standing up against it. And I'm glad that person posted it on Twitter and that we can bring attention to it as well. The other thing that people are going to suffer, Las Vegas Advisor had a very good article talking about staffing levels. And the one thing that's not talked about a lot is that these casinos have cut all the fat and they're run by big corporate entities who want to maximize profit. And a lot of these positions aren't going to come back. Their article said something like Caesars and MGM Caesars has cut their workforce by 32%, MGM by 40%. And these are jobs that they're not expecting to bring back. So they're trying to run their businesses
which is
with far
crazy,
less people. Yeah.
They need them right now. Like, they need people now. It's ridiculous.
And that's why they probably don't have them now, because they didn't have the plans to hire back. I'm sure had they been, more aggressive about hiring back before this boom came, they would have better staffing levels. But part of that's their problem. Part of that's just the labor market. But Yeah, a 30% reduction in labor costs. This is what they're looking at. They're looking at how can we cut back and still provide the same service. But what they don't understand is that you can't provide the same service. Something will suffer. And I think that the hotels that
That's why they're
understand
going.
this will do better.
That's why they're going to the robots for security because
That's why I'm staying at Win Encore. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there right now. If I want good customer service, I am not going to go to either Caesars or MGM. It's just not something that you're going to get there. Not that they're bad. It's just that you're not going to get any sort of that sort of luxury or even just a pleasant experience a lot of the time because they're not worrying as much about the guest experience as they are about the bottom line and cutting prices, giving a good value. Places like Flamingo and Link, Caesar's whole, the core of their properties is all about value and not necessarily about service. And unfortunately, that means that you're going to see worse and worse service, I think, over time.
it's sad because I used to get great service from hosts and stuff with Caesars, and when you check in experience was always good and everything, and now it's kiosk or check in online and don't come talk to us. We don't have people working it anyway, and your restaurant might take forever to bring you a bill. It's just, and then when the bill comes, it's wrong. So yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah. So hopefully Vegas will overcome it. And one place that does a good job with customer service, given their limited resources, is Plaza. We talked last week about they celebrated their 50th anniversary and they had big fireworks shows. Vegas was crazy with fireworks. I barely I barely saw any of them, but there was tons of fireworks everywhere, all over the city, including several nights at Plaza. And they're really sort of buying into this 50th anniversary. And they've created this Studio 71, which is sort of like a playoff Studio 54. And it's this area where you can go and like take selfies, and it has all this like throwback stuff. Kind of cool. It's just a little selfie spot off the casino floor, but it's good to see them celebrating their history. And it's a property that reaches out to gamblers. They're really heavy on social media. It's good to see them, another big property downtown, step up and create some fun stuff for guests.
Yeah, they do seem to be one of the few that thinks outside the box in Vegas, which is good to see. And then I'm sure that, Circa being new and everyone wanted to check it out, but their prices being sky high has kind of been good for Plaza where they can kind of say, hey, you want to go check that out? Stay here. We'll give you better deals, better room rates, better gambling odds, that type of thing. And then you can walk down the street and check it out or pay the 20 to 30 bucks to go to their pool if you want. So I think it's smart on their part. Fremont's kind of crazy right now, so they definitely have a lot of people that they can try to capture while they're there. So good on them for sure.
Yeah, and I'm excited, Mark, because I'm coming to Detroit. And how are your casinos there? Tell me a little bit about your Detroit casinos. This wasn't on our rundown, but I'm excited. Is the MGM Grand worth a visit out there?
Yeah, I think the weird thing is all three casinos were like when they popped up and they got legalized, they were put in temporary residences. Like they were all supposed to move down towards the waterfront initially and be all in a row, so you could easily hop between the two or between the three. So I was hopeful that would have been super cool, but then they, once they got into a place, they just kind of stayed there because hey, we're here. So Greektown is the only one that's like in the heart of downtown, and that's in the Greektown district, which is a really cool district. Lots of food, lots of dining, bars, a good night scene. So that's
Is
probably the
that where
best
the Coney
location.
dogs are?
No, those are more towards the river. This is out by the stadiums a little bit, but so it's got the best location. We've talked about on the podcast how I don't like low ceilings, and it's low ceilings there because it's basically an old mall building that they turned into a casino. So it has some limitations, but it's always a fun atmosphere, and a lot of people go there before or after baseball games, football games, basketball games, stuff like that. So it's usually one of the busier ones. Um, Motor City Casino's owned by the Ilitch family, which owns Little Caesars and the Red Wings and the Tigers. So it's a nice casino. The hotel's pretty nice. They have a spa, but it is like the smokiest of them, and it's outside of town, so you're not really easily accessible to anything else when you go there. So it's not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite to go to. MGM is actually just down the street, but MGM opened up in a building that was temporary. It was like the old police station, and they opened up a casino there, and then they're the only ones that built a building specifically for their casino. So they built it from the ground up. It's got really high ceilings. It feels like Vegas, like a big circular loop with all the restaurants on the outside of the casino and then a big bar in the center. So just like what you see in Vegas, where the rest are kind of like pieced together room by room, and it's a little bit weirder setup than you'll see. So I think MGM is by far the best gaming experience, as well as they have the better restaurants and stuff. Greektown has the best location, so I end up at those two most often.
Can't wait to go check out a casino in an old shopping mall. There you go. That's
It actually was a really cool. I mean, it's kind of a cool building because you walk in and you can still see it's like all brick interior, older building, and they have like storefronts. So you walk through like a cobbled street going through the restaurants and everything. And then they have the monorail stop. Well, not monorail, but the People Mover is what it's called in Detroit. Has a stop there as well. So nobody really uses the People Mover, but if you, I know you love.
I'll be using
things.
it. I got to go down there and ride the People Mover. They have one in Miami too that nobody ever talks about, the People Mover down there. So yeah, I'll have to do that. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun time getting to finally go there. Mark said he visited me so many times. I felt so bad that I had never gone to Detroit, so I'm just gonna do him a favor and go up there. Now we're gonna go.
Oh, do me a
see
favor.
Get the kids.
Awesome.
No, we're gonna get the kids together. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's close out with this last thing. If you could go to a car wash that was themed after your favorite baseball player, which player would that be?
It would not be Jose Canseco.
Oh, why not? I mean, if you could think of a theme for a car wash, why not a Jose Canseco car wash? That's something that now exists in Las Vegas. It has for a while. This story's been on our list forever, and I keep bumping it, so I finally wanted to cover it. Green and gold, or green and yellow, I guess, of the A's colors. And yeah, I mean, it seems like Oakland culture is just taking over here, and I need to go get my car washed there.
Maybe Jose knows what's coming and the A's are moving to Vegas, so he's like, I'm going to put up a car wash out here and kind of take advantage of this A's stuff while I can.
The best part about this car wash are the big cutouts of Jose Canseco with like different quotes, like "My mullet was the best of them all," or "Wax on, wax off." So there's some really cool things here. This place is interesting. I've been meaning to get over there to film it forever, but thanks to Chris J, who a while back in May, shared it on Twitter, and finally getting to highlight it here. We hope the A's are going to come to Vegas, and when they do, this car wash is already light years ahead of the marketing. Hopefully, they'll be the official car wash of the
I wonder if you get
Las
like
Vegas
free
Athletic.
roids as you go through, like they just give you like an extra pill.
Well, he does say, one of the cutouts does say, "I did roids, but it led to a lot of scores." So there you go. And just the good and the bad with Las Vegas. But yeah, that's only, I don't know, a couple miles off the strip. So if you're here and you want to check it out, the whole building is green and yellow with the Athletics colors, Jose Canseco all over. And I do need to get over there to check it out myself. But glad to highlight it here. That's going to do it for us this week. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think about any of these topics. And Mark and I will see you in the comments to discuss them all. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Check out the podcast too.
Yes.
See you next week.
MtMVegas.com. Bye.